Chemistry has received a rather large change that has been planned for quite some time. Reagents are no longer unlimited, and by round start, each chemical dispenser will have 200 units of each of the original reagents that were in them before, and the way this works is pretty simple to explain. So there's 200 units of each, and there is a little eject button. The eject button will just pop out the jug in your hand, and that's really all there is to it. You can put the jug back in, and it will go back in order. So like, for example, I take out the lithium, which is dead center. It readjusts. If I put it back in, you can see it go right back to where it was. So muscle memory is not affected. If you wish to dispense chemicals or reagents, it is still the same. You want 10 units of carbon? No problem. You will take the 10 units of carbon. You have to be cautious though, because you do not want to waste it anymore. And this is actually where the biggest change is. That 10 units of carbon can be rather precious. Carbon's used in a lot of things, for example. If I want to just put the carbon back in the jug, no problem. I could just eject the beaker and put the carbon back in and put the whole jug back. So you want to keep really careful track of where your reagents are going. And really the only other thing that I need to mechanically explain is that the chemical dispenser is not intelligent. It's as in, it doesn't actually just tell you the reagents inside it. It's not a chem master. So if I take out this 200 units of carbon, throw it down the drain, and fill it with water, and put the jug back in, you'll see there's 10 units of carbon. Well, obviously that's not true. However, as long as you're paying attention, you can't get fooled by this. If you eject the carbon into a beaker, the carbon in quotes, you'll see it's actually just a water. So as long as you're paying attention, you should be able to avoid making big mistakes. However, I can immediately see people on purposely putting chlorine in a jug and naming it, I don't know, just something else. And I could definitely see some massive planned sabotage explosions in chemical dispensers because of that. For example, if I dispense oxygen right now and it was actually potassium, I'd explode and I'd have no way of knowing it unless I am purposely ejected the jug first and then examined it, which is obviously unreasonable. Nothing else has really mechanically changed, so I don't have much more to really explain with this. It is just limited jugs now. You need to keep better management of your resources. The Chem Master still works the same way. You can basically use it as an infinite buffer. I have read that there is potential plans to make the Chem Master not be able to do this, but I don't think those are quite guaranteed to be happening. This is speculation. I've not really been able to keep up with space station stuff very easily for the past week. Don't want to get too off topic, but for now, the Chem Master works identically. Use it to store chemicals. You can even have like just a dummy Chem Master to store everything if you really want. So you don't even really need to use chemical dispensers. These are honestly, like, chemical dispensers are more so just for organization now, rather than actually making chemicals. I mean, I always thought the idea of infinite reagents was weird in the first place, but I do understand where some confusion and concern comes from, because what happens if you run out? I'm pretty sure every single station in the game has a chem vendor, which will have an additional 2 jugs of pretty much every single thing you will need. And there's also empty jugs. So if these run out, you have many, many options. At round start now, there are electrolysis units, tabletop centrifuges, and on Bagel Station, for example, there's even a condenser. Well, we can use the guidebook to figure out how to get basically any reagent we want. For example, you want some carbon? Well, you just click the sources button, and this will show you every single possible way of acquiring carbon other than just getting it directly. It's like, oh, I can centrifuge water and fiber together to get water, carbon, and sugar. Plasteel grinding up actually gives plasma, iron, and carbon now. So like, plasteel actually has an even more important use now for making things like Dexilin. If anything, this actually makes things a little bit easier to get certain resources. So this isn't just like a strict, oh, things are inconvenient, things are nerfed now. Ghetto chemistry is certainly more possible now. I mean, this is just the carbon page. I'm not going to go through everything because that would be a 50-hour long video. But if you ever need anything, all you have to do is press numpad 0, click the chemicals button, and use the search bar. So we could just type in something like oxygen, which is a better example, and here's all the ways to get oxygen directly that isn't just through resupplying. We can use the gas condenser, literally put a can of gas here, and I'll just actually show you how this works in case you are unaware. So if we were to get a hold of an oxygen canister and just a wrench, this setup's a little tight, but it does work. This will just start dispensing gas into the condenser. If I toggle the subfloor, you can see that the only thing it is hooked up to is a condenser, and if you shift click it, it contains a gaseous chemical. If you have chemical goggles, it'll tell you how much is in there. So if I just get a beaker, I can just suck up the oxygen directly, And I could shove it in a chem master, put it in a different jug, whatever you need to do to stay organized. That is just an example. Water is a really, really useful... Oh my god. The dog bed is aggressive. Water is a really, really useful one to use in the electrolysis machine because 3 units of water gives 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen, which again is used in a lot of things. Just to show you how this works, I can use just 10 units of water in a beaker, shoved in the electrolysis machine, and there will be this audio that plays. You can see it visibly working and hear it working. And once you hear the chemical mixing sound, it is mixed. Shove that in Chem Master. There you go. There's our 6 units of hydrogen, 3 units of oxygen. Mechanically, this is really not that complicated. Chemistry has not really changed. You just have to be careful with how you label things. Chemistry just has to be more organized. You are going to want to use the electrolysis unit and centrifuge. Botany also now plays a much larger role in helping with maintaining reagents and chemicals. For example, unmutated aloe actually has 10 units of dermaline, and unmutated poppy will have 20 units of bicard. So you can just directly ask botany, especially on bagel, botany's right there, to just grow these for you, and then you don't have to spend chemicals on these 2 medicines. Or you can just use this to make the more advanced burn and brute medicines. Again, completely up to you. This isn't necessarily a chemical guide, I'm just covering the mechanical changes. Just to be extra thorough with all of this, if you don't want to use the centrifuge, if you don't want to use electrolysis, you don't want to use gas condensers, Cargo can always bail you out. Cargo can always just order these chemical crates. There's D, P, and S elements. There's also the ChemVen restock crate, which is probably just the go-to. It is much more expensive, so if you just need specific things from like the P block of elements, this will definitely help quite a lot. You need chemistry access to open this. This is more of a big hit to departments like science. Making chem dispensers a science is no longer just a free bomb making or flamethrower factory. You will have to also go get these chemicals from Cargo, and I will just spawn in these chemical crates because I don't really think most people are just like able to instantly recognize what elements are on the periodic table that are in game right away. So if I just open them, the D crate features copper, gold, iron, mercury, and silver. The P crate features aluminum, carbon, chlorine, fluorine, iodine, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, silicon, sulfur. And the S crate features hydrogen, lithium, potassium, radium, sodium. So for example, if you're somebody who wants to make bombs, you could very easily just order a chemical S crate to get some potassium to make water potassium bombs. Or if you want to make a chlorine fluorine bomb, they all come in the P crate, so it is at least useful to try to memorize those. There's also the ChemVen restock crate, and these are just by far the most convenient. In order to restock any vending machine, you just need a screwdriver to open the panel, and with the ChemVen restock box restocks a ChemVen. So if I just open it right now, you see there's 2 of each and 4 jugs. If I stick in the box, you don't need any special tools other than a screwdriver to do all of this. It will just double everything there is. It'll add 2 more aluminum, add 4 more jugs. It is a lot of reagents. Again, each jug is 200 units, so you can make a lot of life-saving chemicals with these. So really, in conclusion, you just need to keep better track of your reagents. It's no longer unlimited. Cargo can bail you out. If Cargo is lacking funds, there are still plenty of things you can do. You can grind up steel, plasteel for plasma if Cargo can't order plasteel, and you can just like find a reinforced table or something. You see those reinforced tables over there in botany? You could literally disassemble one if you have to make Dexlin. So that's something that's really cool to me. Ghetto chemistry is going to be a lot more possible. Just use the guidebook to get a better idea of what you can actually make and what you can't make. These machines now have much more of a purpose. They were added a little bit ago, but now the centrifuge and electrolysis and the condenser have much more of a front and center purpose in gameplay due to all of this as well. People are also probably curious about this. The EMAG doesn't do anything in the chemical dispenser anymore, so you can't get the weird... It doesn't just like make jugs out of thin air, so that is definitely worth covering. So the EMAG has lost a tiny bit of functionality, but I don't really think anyone actively EMAG chemical dispensers too often for that. So there is a little bit lost, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. Crafting a chemical dispenser, again, will come empty, so you can't duplicate chems that way. And don't think there's too much else to cover. It's not too much of a mechanical change, it's more of just a resource balancing. And the thing I like the most about this forces chemistry to have to go to Cargo, work with botany, work with other people just to get certain materials. Like, again, with the botany thing, this is another one. is wood grinds into cellulose fibers, and you use those cellulose fibers in a lot of things. Cellulose fibers in the electrolysis machine make sugar and carbon. Again, some of the most common reagents in the game. So if you get Cargo to just grow you some tower cap logs, you will essentially never have to go to Cargo to order sugar and carbon. So you really want to delay how often you want to go to Cargo, because Cargo relies on bounties and salvage very often in this game fails to make any money or dies entirely, even though I guess it has gotten a little bit safer. And you can even grind up ores now as well. Grinding up coal gives you a ton of stuff. It gives you carbon, ammonia, hydrogen, sulfur, and mercury. It's in small parts, and salvage does need coal in order to actually make steel, and like obviously like engineering and science need steel. So grinding up coal is probably not going to be all that common. But again, it is an option. I think plasteel is definitely one of the more interesting things to grind up. But also, since you could just use the gas condensers to get plasma, if you have a plasma canister, that's another big element. Anyways, I could drone on forever about the sources in reagents. If an explosive grenade or a chemical explosion happens in chemistry, it could be rather devastating now that all the chemicals are actually in physical jugs. I nearly went deaf in reality doing that. I didn't realize that was going to be so loud. But losing all your chemicals from a bomb basically sets chemistry back to the Dark Ages. So yeah, chemistry getting bombed is basically putting you out of a job for quite some time. You will need Cargo's help at this point if you lose your machines like this. So yeah, chemistry is a bit more of a resource-intensive department, and now interacts with the station more directly rather than just being an infinite source of medicine. I nearly forgot to include this, but soda dispensers and booze dispensers are also included in the limited reagent update, rework, whatever you want to call it. And there's actually some new additions here as well. There's like large jug versions of previous reagents. There's like watermelon juice jugs. You can eject them just like from the chem dispenser. You can add in your own liquor bottles. I don't know, you probably shouldn't put the liquor bottles in the soda dispenser. So again, keep a little bit more organization, but this gives you a better visual idea of what you can actually serve. And I like this because it adds more roleplay opportunity. You can literally tell someone you're out of whiskey for now. Restocking these machines is actually harder than chemistry. I am pretty sure you can restock most of these things, but you have to get them through like somewhat bizarre sources. Like, there's no way to just get more coffee jugs like you can at a chem dispenser or a chem vendor, because the boozomat only has booze. The bartending supplies crate only has like lime juice and like mixers. There's the soft drink bulk crate, which has like things like lemon lime and iced tea. You could always get a hot drinks restock to take literal coffee cups, take them out, and then pour the coffee cups into the coffee jug in order to stay stocked. Unless I'm missing something, I don't think there's ways of reordering the bulk drinks. So it can be so as of right now, I guess it could be a little inconvenient to restock these. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think there's any way of reordering the jugs for bartenders like there is for chemists. But I feel like that'd be an easy change. Maybe I'm missing it. But anyways, it's not too big of a deal. And having limited reagents for bartenders could definitely add some interesting roleplay and drama as well.